There's been a lot of talk about the new Elvis.
Welcome to MsMojo, and in this installment of Versus, it's the Battle of the Kings, with Austin Butler defending his crown against Jabob Elordi to see who turned in the most authentic portrayal of Elvis Presley.
It's one of those things you hear, I think, from actors all the time, that you want a challenge, and this certainly was it.
Round 1, The Voice. Early in the production of Sophia Coppola's Priscilla, the filmmakers decided that they didn't want a flashy Elvis mimic.
I mean, if you want to see an Elvis impersonator, you can go to Vegas. I think it was about catching the essence of this person.
Rather, they sought to take a grounded approach, putting more emphasis on Elvis the person rather than Elvis the performer. This comes through in Jabob Elordi's restrained Elvis voice.
What are the kids listening to these days?
Bobby Darin, Fabian, and you.
While maintaining a hint of Elvis's signature baritone and tenor, Elordi never goes over the top with the Elvisisms we'd expect. This suits the muted sadness of Coppola's film. At the same time, Elordi leans more into the classic Elvis voice when the press and fans are around, showing two sides of the king.
Because I have a different voice now when I speak in front of people. I have like a performing voice. That's not how I speak when I'm at home. And so, it's not always just this deep thing.
Austin Butler went all in on perfecting his Elvis voice, meticulously studying how Presley said certain words and working closely with dialect coaches. Since Butler had to portray Elvis from his youth to his final years, he also researched how his voice evolved throughout the decades.
It was just such a daunting thing, and I really just was guided by my terror, really, because I would go, I don't know how to sing this one line of a song, or it would be a certain word that he said. I couldn't figure out where the placement was and what the architecture of my mouth should be.
Butler would fall asleep listening to recordings of Elvis's voice, allowing it to worm into his subconscious. The voice would infamously stay with Butler by the time the film was released, and even well into award season when he picked up a Best Actor Oscar nomination. While Butler's commitment was almost comedic, he ultimately nailed Elvis's voice without merely doing an impression.
Don't trap mud in the house, Billy! How many times I gotta tell you? Get out! Get out of my goddamn house!
Each actor hits the notes they need to, but Butler's Elvis voice is almost indistinguishable from the real deal. Butler rocks this round.
Of course, you gotta listen to the people that you love. But in the end, you gotta listen to yourself.
Winner, Austin Butler. Round 2, Physical Transformation. Elordi actually dressed as Elvis for Halloween in 2020, accompanying then-girlfriend Kaia Gerber as Priscilla. This was an early sign that Elordi could get the Elvis look down, but it never feels like he's playing dress-up in Coppola's film.
The idea of Elvis is so daunting. Nobody looks like Elvis. He's such a big character, and it was really important to me to not have a caricature who could have the essence.
When portraying Elvis, it's easy to let the makeup, hair, and costumes do most of the work. Since Elordi is playing a more stripped-down version of Elvis, he's able to focus on his inner turmoil, conveying a larger-than-life personality who feels repressed inside.
The whole world was built for us, so it was almost impossible not to feel it.
Elordi seamlessly transitions between Elvis's cool cat public persona and the bleak man behind the glamour. Much of this is expressed through Elordi's body language, finding the subtlety in a towering figure.
There's layers to it, I suppose. I was just trying to figure out how to make him the normal person that he was.
As seen in Baz Luhrmann's film, all of the applause and sold-out shows came at the expense of Elvis's deteriorating health. Although Butler was never pushed to such extremes, playing Elvis did take its toll.
So what you're telling me is you already had the moves.
I had to work hard for those.
Okay.
Yeah.
His training with movement coach Polly Bennett was equally physical and mental, delving into why Elvis danced rather than how he danced. Butler integrated a variety of movement elements to his daily routine, though they added to the tax on his body.
I did everything from physical training just to keep my body able to move, and I had to do a lot of rehab because I threw my shoulder out. I was doing karate training every day.
In and out of physical therapy, the biggest hurdle came towards the shoot's end. Butler was rushed to the hospital the day after wrapping, spending the next week in bed. The actor put years into this role, which comes across in every mannerism.
What they hollering at? The wiggle. The what? Them girls won't see you wiggle. Move, man. Do more.
Both actors did their homework, although Butler took the time to do all of the extra credit, truly embodying Elvis on stage and off. Another point for Butler.
It was this constant back and forth, and that's the tricky thing, is going back and forth between incredibly technical things and then never losing the humanity.
Winner, Austin Butler. Round 3, dynamic with Priscilla. Anyone who's seen Euphoria knows that Elordi can play a straight-up monster. Elordi's Elvis is an idyllic partner compared to Nate Jacobs. However, Elordi doesn't shy away from Elvis's obvious shortcomings as a husband.
From Sid and Nancy and Barry Lyndon, and I don't want to say specifically where they are, you can go and find them if you like movies. Yeah, so they're the two kind of specific references that I remember her giving us, right?
Elvis has little control over what movies he stars in or which songs he sings. He projects this onto Priscilla, controlling what she wears and where she goes, treating her like a doll that must be sheltered.
Black hair and more eye makeup.
I don't know if I like it.
What do you mean you don't know if you like it?
He has violent outbursts towards her, almost immediately regretting each of them. Elordi effectively balances Elvis's domineering and tender sides, bringing out dimensions that only Priscilla truly understands. For all of his faults, Elordi's Elvis still loves Priscilla enough to let her go.
Well, I need a woman who understands that things like this might happen. Are you gonna be here or not?
Elvis's relationship with Priscilla isn't given as much attention in Luhrmann's film. While Butler has natural chemistry with actress Olivia de during their limited screen time, the film tiptoes around the less flattering aspects of Elvis and Priscilla's relationship.
Ooh, what could he possibly see in you, okay? What do you two do up there all night? And I just said, Mom, Dad, we talk and we listen to music, okay? That's all.
Her young age never comes up, and Elvis's more abusive moments are omitted. That's not to say the film ignores the ugly chapters of their romance.
Do you remember the last time that the three of us sat down and had dinner together? You won't even make love to me anymore.
When the marriage inevitably ends, we feel the pain from both parties while sensing the love that'll never die. Even at its grittiest, the relationship can still feel romanticized, although this is consistent with the rest of the film. Elordi and co-star Kaylee Spaney are not only given more time to explore this dynamic, but their portrayal also feels more honest, not just to Elvis and Priscilla, but to the nature of marriage. Elordi takes this round, with Spaney giving him a boost.
There were days where we would just imagine that it was a Sophia Coppola marriage drama, like completely separate from, Elvis and Priscilla. And
Winner, Jabob Elordi. Round 4, Elvis, the man behind the myth. Elvis is one of the most iconic figures who ever lived. While anyone can instantly recognize his looks and voice, only a handful of people can tell you what he was like behind the scenes. Priscilla presents a unique perspective, exploring Elvis through his wife's eyes.
I know so much about Elvis, and it was really important to me to show the story through Priscilla's experiences.
Even with the curtain pulled back, Elvis remains something of an enigma. Elordi nonetheless captures what the cameras didn't. A charismatic yet melancholy human being who became eclipsed by his own persona and legend.
Finding a truth that hasn't been seen before, opening the door to Graceland and inventing from fact.
Just as Priscilla feels trapped in Graceland, Elvis feels trapped almost everywhere he goes, with others watching his every move. Elvis doesn't have to be Elvis when he's alone with Priscilla, but this is also where we find him at his most insecure.
So I sort of built Elvis's world and Kaylee built Priscilla's, and I think we kind of met in the middle on those gaps.
Whether he's performing on stage or enduring a meltdown backstage, Butler goes big as Elvis. While this lacks the subtlety of Elordi's approach, Butler genuinely encompasses the fear, anger, and heartache that Elvis attempted to hide from the public.
I can't go out there. I just want to stay here forever.
The world saw Elvis as a king, when in reality, his kingdom was being run by the manipulative Colonel Tom Parker. As powerful as Elvis comes across before an audience, the Colonel is a puppet master who won't cut his strings.
If you are so determined to get out of our contract,
You're goddamn right I want out.
well, I will personally loan you the money that you owe to Jamboree Attractions.
Yeah, you still have your claws on me.
Although the Colonel was arguably responsible for Elvis's downfall, Butler's version recognizes that Elvis himself wasn't without personal flaws. we see the addictions and deceit that cost him dearly, with Butler still making Elvis sympathetic.
I'm gonna be 40 soon, Priscilla. 40. And nobody's gonna remember me. I've never done anything lasting.
Despite being more of a supporting player in Priscilla, Elordi puts Elvis the man before Elvis the celebrity, making him this round's victor.
I mean, there's a lot of, boring hours and stories of homework, really, is what it is. There was a lot of information to kind of rifle through.
Winner, Jabob Elordi. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Round 5, Elvis the Showman. Outside of a piano ditty and a TV appearance, Coppola's film doesn't give Elordi many opportunities to bring down the house as Elvis. The filmmakers didn't even get the rights to Elvis's songs, although this allowed them to get creative in telling the story.
It's easy to get distracted, and because Elvis is so sparkly, and it was, but for us, we were very diligent about it always being, Priscilla's story.
Despite rarely singing, Elordi's Elvis is constantly performing. With adoring fans around every corner, Elvis always has to come off as confident and charming. It's almost second nature to him, but it's at least partially an act.
And for the first 10, 15 seconds, it's wonderful. It's nice to have the praise.
Of course.
And then it keeps going.
It's a shame that Elvis never got a serious movie role because he was, at least to an extent, method acting every moment of his professional life. Elordi presents the lonely existence of someone born to entertain.
When you sat down and you were playing the piano, was that you?
That was me in the shot. Yeah, I did learn. Yeah, that's me doing all of that, yeah.
That was you playing the piano?
Yeah, I was lucky, I got taught like a basic blues progression, and then the Jerry Lee Lewis thing on the keys that he does is kind of...
So you have a little get down.
There's a little something in there. Yeah.
Butler absorbed every ounce of Elvis footage he could find to prepare for the role. This shines through in his invigorating performance. Recordings of Elvis were used during the third act when we reach his later years. However, most of the musical numbers rely on Butler's vocals, which are practically identical to the real Elvis.
Oh, please let my dream come true.
While Butler had been playing guitar since age 13, this was more of a therapeutic exercise. He had minimal public singing experience before landing the part. He wasn't a seasoned dancer either. Based on the way Butler moves his legs and throat muscles, though, you'd swear he had been training for this role his whole life.
I'm only made out flesh, blood, and bone. But if you're gonna start a rumor, don't you try.
As different as their interpretations are, Elordi and Butler together deliver a complete portrait of Elvis Presley. Elordi summons Elvis's understated side, but we see less of the showman. Butler doubles down on Elvis the entertainer rather than Elvis the man, although this approach is arguably more faithful to what Elvis stood for. Above all else, Elvis was a showman, shining brighter than most other stars. For that, Butler sings his way to the winning point. Winner, Austin Butler. Which depiction of Elvis do you prefer? Performances aside, do you think Priscilla or Elvis is the stronger film overall? Sing us the blues in the comments.
Thank you very much. Devin has left the building.
You never sung before, have you?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.